Hi, my name's Mark. I'm one of the pastors here at Trillium. I want to quote you what I think is probably a well-known but certainly beautiful quote made by Reinhold Niebuhr. I think back in the 1950s. He said this: "Nothing that is worth doing can be achieved in our lifetime. Therefore, we must be saved by hope. And nothing which is true or beautiful or good makes complete sense in any immediate context of history. Therefore, we must be saved by faith. And nothing we do, however virtuous, can be accomplished alone. Therefore, we must be saved by love." I think that's so profound. And it got reminding myself of a story that my colleague had sent to me that she'd seen on the internet. And it goes like this. This woman, university psychology professors before students, she has this glass. And she asked them a question about the glass. And of course, most people assume she's going to ask the question, and you may be thinking this too, is the glass half full or glass half empty? But she asked them, how much do you think this glass weighs? And people begin to give her responses: 10 ounces, 12 ounces, 20 ounces. And she says, the actual weight of the glass isn't that important. It's how long I hold it that really matters. And if I hold it for a minute, I don't have any problem at all. But if I try to hold this glass out like this for an hour, my arm will begin to ache. And if I hold this glass for a day, then my arm's going to be paralyzed in pain. And she said, life is like this, that we hold on to the glasses of life. We refuse to set them down. And if you only think about your worries or your struggles or your trials occasionally, they're like that glass, holding it for a minute, but you're not going to have any troubles. But if you keep thinking about them and over again, it's like holding the glass for an hour, and it starts to ache. And if you keep thinking and dwelling on all this negativity, eventually you're going to be like the person who's held it for a day and you're paralyzed by it. She said, we got to remember to put the glass down. I think about the challenge I have, and that is I do put the glass down. I put it down all the time. The problem for me is I pick it up again. I put it down, I pick it up. If you've worried about something, maybe you've experienced this. You worry about it, and you say to yourself, I'm not going to think about it anymore. And instantly, a few seconds later, you're thinking about it again. Or, you've had enough cookies. You've eaten and too many cookies already, and you say to yourself, I'm not going to open the cookie jar again. I'm just going to walk by it and not open up and take another cookie, and yet instantly you're there at the cookie jar pulling out another cookie. It's amazing how hard it is to keep the glass down and not pick it up again. All our obsessions and our compulsions, our addictions are built on the understanding that we keep picking up the glass. We keep picking it up. In an unconscious way, these habits, we just keep using them over and over again, no matter how hard we try to put them down. They're back in our hands. I remember seeing where in my first ministry position, going to visit an older woman, and we were doing some of the things at this church that we were doing here at Trillium. We're moving to a more contemporary music style. We're using multimedia technology. We're more informal style of worship, and this older lady was having a real hard time with it. She just couldn't embrace it, and I went over to her and we talked about it. And finally, she said to me, "It doesn't matter. They won't come." I guess they being the new people or the younger people, the younger families. And she just didn't think that it was going to work, that no matter what we did, it wouldn't work. And she was asking me why I was putting a group of older people who didn't like the change through all the hoops of change when it wouldn't make any difference in the end. And I think about how she was holding on to that glass of hopelessness. She didn't have much hope for things changing in the future. Maybe she'd struggled in her own life with change, and now she didn't think that change could transfer over to other people and other circumstances. And I realized that if you don't have any hope, you don't really have any tolerance for change and the ability to sort of endure the change for a period of time. I mean, most of us resist change when it comes to us, but eventually we often learn how to tolerate it. Tolerance literally comes from a Latin word meaning to endure something. We learn how to endure things in life. We learn how to endure, for instance, our neighbor's late night party, or our children's music, or the hot weather that we sometimes go through in the summer, or parched throat, or the chronic pain that comes from arthritis. We learn how to endure being out of work, or our gay nephew that we don't quite get, or we learn how to endure an unpopular premier or high unemployment. And tolerance can also mean the forbearance or patience of not judging another person's thoughts, opinions, actions. And there's a certain kind of restraint in tolerance that we recognize the dignity and the respect of another person's right to be who they are. But tolerance hasn't got that sense of warmth or love about it. It's not about embracing another person. It's not about really accepting where another person's at in life. And I think sometimes we don't understand that tolerance is a step in between going from intolerance to acceptance. So we need to go from intolerance to tolerance to acceptance. And I would suggest there's another step beyond that, which is celebration. We need to go to the place of celebrating other people in their contingent circumstances of their lives, in their own unique ways of living. I remember going out east one time and visiting two families who were friends of my ex-wife. We went on a long holiday. The one family tolerated our presence. The other family accepted us. They welcomed us. They embraced us. And let me tell you, there's a palpable difference between being tolerated and being accepted or even celebrated, because the second family that we spent a week with, they welcomed us into their home. They actually saw us as a gift coming to them, and they extended the deepest hospitality to us. And I got to tell you that there is such a palpable difference between tolerance and acceptance or embracing and generosity that it's obvious to us. And what kind of person do you want to be this day? Do you want to be a person who tolerates the world around you, who learns how to accept what's going on, but not in a very deep way, not in an embracing way, just simply allows life to unfold, but not really enter into it? Or do you want to be the kind of person who has that sense of embrace of life, embracing other people, of celebrating people who are different from you, who may be on the surface you don't quite understand, but who you really do want to get to know in a deeper way? And I think most people, when push comes to shove, they want to be more than just a tolerating presence. They want to be an embracing, celebrating presence in people's lives. And I would invite you that when you're going about your day-to-day living, that you think about that step beyond tolerance that's available to you. It's sort of like we're journeying and we're going from Guelph out to, or Cambridge or Kitchener, KW, and we're journeying to Toronto, which is kind of tolerance. But then there's Kingston, which is that embracing acceptance. And then when we get to Montreal, we find that celebration there. And we want to be that people on the journey towards learning how to celebrate life. I went to Hillside last weekend. I was part of a performing group that played at Hillside in Guelph on the last weekend in July. And there's something called laughing yoga. And in the little right up to laughing yoga, it says that children laugh 400 times a day, but adults only 15 times a day. I always think of tolerance as not having much laughter about it. But when you celebrate, you're part of that laughing presence. And I'd invite you to move from laughing only 15 times a day to being that celebrating presence in life that embraces all of life and laughs and laughs and laughs and all the silliness and all the joy and all the craziness, and becomes like a child again in our laughter. And when that happens, let me tell you, when that happens, the power of God is unleashed in you and you become like God. See, God is a laughing God. We have this stern understanding of God in so much of Christian history, and yet God is a God of laughter and joy and peace. And so may that peace of the laughing God who has nothing but good for you this day follow you all this day, until you meet it again tomorrow morning when you rise from the bed and you can embrace life in all its fullness. Go in peace and in laughter. Amen.